The two sons is married to the daughter Orpha and Ruth. And something happens. In these times, the husband was the one who took care of everything. He took care of all the finances, he took care of all the cattle. And the wife was the one who stayed home and took care of the house. And what happens is the husband dies, Naomi's husband dies. And it says that Orpha and Ruth was there for 10 years. And after the husband dies, now her two sons die. So now you have Naomi, who's a widow, and you have Orpha and Ruth, who's now a widow. So now they find themselves in the place of devastation because, remember, they depended on their husbands. So they had no more finance. They had no more cattle. So they found themselves in a place asking the question, is it worth it? Sometimes when we're committed to something and it looks as though it's not working out on our behalf, we ask that same question. God, is it really worth it? And the story says that Naomi, because she's in the place of devastation, she tells her two daughters, y'all go back home. Go back to your mother's house. And they said with a loud voice, no, we're going to stay with you. But she begins to break down and says, listen, I'm old now and I don't have a husband, which means I can't bear forth no other sons for you all. But even if I could, would you even stay that long? Would you wait that long? Because sometimes the process takes long, but will you be committed to even wait? So she says, no, go ahead and go back to your house. And after hearing it the second time, Orpha says, okay, I'm going to kiss you and I'm going to go back. Because sometimes the pressure of life, sometimes the process, everybody can't wait as long as somebody else. So Orpha says, nah, I'm not going to be able to wait around. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back home. But Ruth says, listen, I'm all in. She says, where you go, I go. If you die, then I die. Matter of fact, wherever they bury you at, that's where I'll be buried at. She showed with her commitment that I'm all in. Ruth goes on and says, I'm going to go with you. And because of being in this such devastated place, Naomi goes back home, Bethlehem. And when she enters Bethlehem, all the people that haven't seen her in years begin to get excited and say, Naomi, you're home. And Naomi says, listen, I'm no longer Naomi because I'm in a place of devastation. Don't even call me Naomi. She said, call me Mara, which means bitter, because I'm in a bitter place. Sometimes life takes you to a place where you are so bitter that you can't even move forward. But watch this. Ruth, because she was so committed, didn't allow where they were at to stop her from where she knew she had to go. She stayed committed. And as she went, she said, there is a relative that's in this place of Bethlehem who was a cousin to Elimelech, which was Naomi's husband. Not knowing that he was there, they still went back to that place because she felt like, I got to return to the place of which I came from. Sometimes because we fall into a place of devastation and life hits us hard, we feel like we got to go back from where we came from. But God sent her there because favor was already waiting for her there. But watch this. She came in the place of devastation, came back in the place of being bitter, not knowing what God had for her. Sometimes we be in the place because we're so devastated of how life has dealt us this hand, of our current situation. But Paul says that be content in whatever situation that you're in. Well, how can I be content in the place that I'm devastated in? Because I told you in the beginning that he says, if I'm committed to him first and I'm seeking him first, then he says, I'm going to add everything else. It's just, can you stay committed through the process? So Ruth says, Naomi, I'm going to go out into the field. And I'm going to glean and be behind the harvest workers. And I'm just going to work behind them because really she's not supposed to go into the field because she's not a worker. But she says, I'm just going to go and I'm going to work behind them and glean in the field. Glean meaning she just was gathering together all the wheat and the barrel and the barley. And as she went out there and she was there all day. And here comes Boaz. Boaz, who is favored. Boaz comes, and because Boaz comes and he understands, I know who works in my field. I know what women is here and what men is here. He notices Ruth and says, who is this woman that's working in the field? And they said, she's been working all day long. She started in the morning and she's been here all night. Watch this, y'all. She was committed to Naomi. Well, watch this. She was committed to where she went as well. So not only was she just committed to the person, she was committed to the house. So she was committed to Naomi, but she just didn't stop where she was. She started working where she went. So she began to work and glean. And because she was committed, watch this, y'all, favor noticed her because of her commitment. And when he noticed her, he says, let her work. Matter of fact, now she's working behind the scene, right? He says, bring her now with the harvest workers and the other women. And he tells her, listen, don't try to go to no other field because if you go to other fields, they'll try to harm you. So just stay in my field and work here. She goes home. She comes back the second day. She works in the field with the workers. But now she's able to work and she takes and separates the barley. And he says, take some of that barley back home with you. The first day she left with nothing. But the second day, because of her commitment the day before, she leaves with something. God just wanted to show her, this is not the blessing I have for you, but I want to show you because of your commitment. He said, if you'll be faithful over the little things. So because you was faithful over day one, I'm going to allow you to take something home on day two. But this is not what I have for you because I got some unprecedented blessings that's coming if you stay committed. But I just got to show you because of your commitment. Ain't that how God do? When you're committed to something, he says, look, I'm just going to bless you just a little bit. But this is not what the full blessing I have for you because I have something that's going to rock your socks. So now she comes the second day. She takes the barley back home. She comes back the next day. Boaz noticed her again and says, listen, come a little closer to me. Matter of fact, sit down with me and eat. Break some bread with me. Y'all notice the story? She went out on her own first. She was in the field working. Favor notices her. Favor says, now you can work with them. Favor says, now I'm going to give you something to take home. Then Favor says, now come break bread with me. He tells her, whatever you need, I'll do for you. She goes back and returns to Naomi, and Naomi says, how did you get this barley? Who did you get this from? Matter of fact, whoever gave you this blessings, let God bless them. But hear what she says. She says, well, listen, this was the relative of Elimelech, your former husband. So she remembers who Boaz is. So she says, watch this. I'm going to give you all these 4 things. I got to give you all this just to have these notes. There's 4 things. I need y'all to write this down too. It's 4 things. Come on, 4 things. 4 things. 4 things I need y'all to see. Come on, help me. Okay. 4 things that commitment reveals. Number 1, it reveals sacrifice. Number 2, it reveals inconvenience. Number 3, it reveals instruction. And number 4, it will ultimately reveal joy. So Ruth now comes and he says, eat with me. She goes back home talking to Naomi, tells him who Boaz was. And she says, now here's the instruction. She says to her, Ruth, when he comes to the threshing floor, what I need you to do is first, I need you to notice when he comes and when he falls asleep. And when he falls asleep, what I need you to do is go lay next to him and take the cover off of his feet. She lays down next to him. She takes the cover off his feet. And in the middle of the night, he rolls over and notices Ruth next to him. But what he noticed first is that she covered him. Y'all missed that there. Her commitment was to Naomi first. Then her commitment was the field. But then her commitment was even to Boaz because she covered him. And he noticed that she covered him and he says, you are a noble woman. Speaking of her character. Because watch this, he says, you didn't even know who I was. You didn't go after these men you was working with, whether they was poor or rich. Sometimes we'll try to seize the opportunity because we know when somebody got some money or something, oh man, I'm going after that one. But she remained in her character and to her commitment. But he speaks about her character and says, you're a noble woman. And because you covered me, whatever you ask of me, that's what I'm going to do. But he says, listen here, there's another relative that's closer than I am to Elimelech. And I'm going to have him be the one that's going to redeem you and Naomi. He goes to talk to the other relative, says, listen, Naomi and her daughter-in-law came here, and I need you to go bless them and take her as your wife and then bless Naomi. But he tells him, Boaz, this is your favor. I told y'all earlier that Boaz was her favorite. But he tells her, this is your favor. So I understand you want to give her to me, but you go marry her. So he goes on and he takes Ruth. And the moral of the story was he takes Ruth as the wife, and now he blesses Naomi as well. They came in a place of being bitter and devastated. But what I wanted to show you on this morning, it was Ruth that was all in no matter the circumstance. No matter that they lost their husbands, no matter that they didn't have no money, no matter if they didn't know what they were doing, Ruth says, I'm sticking with you no matter what. God told me to tell you on today, that's the same way I want you to be with me. I want you to be so committed even if you lose the job. I want you to be so committed even if you lose the business. I want you to be so committed even if the husband walks away. I want you to be so committed even if the wife is acting up. I want you to be so committed if you lose the children. But if you remain committed, I have to do what I have already promised. And because of Ruth's commitment, she got an unprecedented blessing. A blessing that she wasn't even looking for. She got the barley as a blessing, but the unprecedented blessing was Boaz because of her commitment. And I'm finishing here because I'm not going to preach the whole thing. But the 4 things, when you're committed, commitment requires sacrifice. There's going to be some times that you're committed to something and you're not going to want to do it. There's going to be some times that you're committed to a place you're not going to even want to show up. But it takes sacrifice. Do I always want to do it? Do I always want to stay committed? No, I don't. Sometimes, even in marriage, you're committed. But sometimes do you say, dang, is it worth it? You're on the job and you say, is it worth it? You're working a business and you're saying, is it worth it? You have relationships with others, you say, is this worth it? But if I stay committed, I must understand there's going to have to be some sacrifice. But also, commitment makes us inconvenient. You have to inconvenience yourself sometimes if you're going to stay committed. The 3, commitment also has instructions. I told you in the story, Naomi gave her instructions what to do to seize the moment right before joy would come. So number 4 is joy. Why did you choose joy? Because when you receive your unprecedented blessing, you're excited, right? When you receive your unprecedented blessing, there's joy, there's fulfillment. So if I'm going to stay committed, I must understand that I'm going to sacrifice some things. I'm going to sacrifice some time. I'm going to sacrifice some money. I'm going to sacrifice some things that maybe I wouldn't sacrifice. But also, I'm going to be inconvenienced sometime. Yesterday, me and Pastor, Valentine's Day, went out, had a day out, and then yesterday we stayed out and we came on our way home. She said, let's go to the church. We're going to give those that come and set up Saturdays, give them a day off. Me and you going to do it. We're going to go set up the chairs. We're going to come here and help set up the stuff. Let's give them the day off. Sister Jessica comes in here every Saturday, sometimes by herself. No men, nobody else to help her. She sets up the chairs. She pulls out everything by herself. We said, no, take the day off. Do some things for yourself. Don't worry about calling nobody else. Me and Pastor, we're going to do it. Sometimes, even as a leader, you have to inconvenience yourself. Matter of fact, you have to be the example of inconvenience. So sacrifice, inconvenience, instruction, and then ultimately joy. But you have to be all in. Ruth displayed that I'm all in. And it wasn't about what she could get because Naomi had nothing left. So it wasn't like she was trying to get something from her. But she was so committed without having anything in line. That's good right there. She was so committed without having anything in line. How many of us can show that same commitment? Because even sometimes we only committed to God for what he can give us. If there's nothing in line, we don't show no commitment. So I want y'all to think about this today. Where is your commitment? Where's your commitment with people? Where's your commitment on the job? Where's your commitment in your business? Where's your commitment in your home? To your spouse? To your children? Where's your commitment to your ministry? We make a commitment, we join places, we be a part of things, but then when we in it, the commitment leaves. So we make the initial commitment, but commitment has to continue. And not because what I can get out of it, what I'm going to get out of it if I stay committed. Because that's what 95% of us, that's the question we ask. If I stay committed, what I'm going to get out of it. But you see, Ruth understood that is, no matter if I get nothing, she said, I'm going to die if you die. I'm going to get buried right next to you. Wherever they bury you, I'm going to be buried right there. So on this week, I want you to think about that question. Where is your commitment? And yeah, you're going to ask the question sometimes, is it worth it? But God says, this present suffering is not compared to the glory that shall be revealed. But the part I love is, he says, in us. So he's going to reveal it in you.